Okay, so I want you to take a step to really let the feeling sink in. I want to say that I'm proud of you because this is a serious step you're taking. Shows a lot of self love, a lot of care, and it is about an issue that is not always addressed. It is usually talked of, but it's usually talked about in like a complaining manner, but you are actually trying to do something about it. You're actually seeking steps to fix this situation. I'm so proud of you. It is not easy to face your worst demons. It's not easy to face flaws within your character and decide to change them, whether that flaw be addiction or anything like that. So I would like you to take a deep breath to really let the emotion sink in. Take a deep breath while you're addressing this problem before we get started. Do it with me. If you enjoy that ASMR, now listen. No, seriously, if you need to pause at any time, it's not going to be a deep video to be honest with you, but if you do need to pause, just take that moment for yourself, and you're doing a lot for yourself, and hopefully your future self will thank you for this. In advance, I do apologize for the slightly robotic sound of this mic. However, there's a lot of construction going on, and I really wanted to film this video, and this was the best way to communicate my voice across technology and the interwebs to you on your device, on your chosen device, whether it be a laptop or a phone. Okay, now I want to talk about the fact that you'll be so much happier after you go through this. It is true that during the phasing out of social media, you're going to feel awkward, you're going to feel out of the loop. You're going to feel like you're battling yourself, your deepest self, for control. And I want to say that through that and through the incoming isolation you might incur by getting off social media, you will be so much happier by the end. And I am living proof of that. I left social media around the time Batman Returns came out because I remember the memes and they were making fun of that. And I think that was 3 years ago. I came back to social media a year ago because I came back changed and I needed to communicate my projects. I needed to market my poetry collection. So I came back to social media to do that, and I've been back for a year. Would I recommend you come back to social media? Never. Never. There is zero benefit to social media. The little perceived benefit you receive from social media is completely outweighed by the several negatives you incur from social media. However, I will not be discussing the negative sides of social media because there's a lot of videos that talk about the negatives and why you should stop, but they don't give you the exact steps. So, this video is about the steps, not about the depth of the situation. However, there is a video essay that I watched at the time, which was uploaded 3 years ago, which really helped me. Like, it helped churn my brain and helped me internalize how serious the issue is and how desperately I need to get out. It was CJ the X's video essay, which I will leave in the description below. I would also like to say that when I talk about social media, I specifically mean the big three apps. I mean TikTok, Instagram, Twitter/X, or Snapchat if you use that. Those are what I mean by saying social media. Some people think YouTube is social media, Discord is social media. In my opinion, YouTube is media, Discord is, or Telegram, or things like that that are text based, are communication, social. They're not both of them at the same time. And this is a very important distinction to make, and it'll be more evident when we get into the steps of leaving and phasing out social media from your life. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to press on not interested on posts that you really like on TikTok or Instagram or whatever the platform is. I'm not familiar with X myself because I didn't use it that much. And I want you to press on not interested because this will help minimize the algorithm. So the algorithm for these platforms is notoriously adept at making you stay for the longest time on your phone. Like, people have 9-hour days on their phone, as did I at some point. And this is because the algorithms are very good at detecting what exactly will keep you watching. There's this interesting concept that when I learned really helped me internalize the situation. It didn't get me out of it didn't get me out of social media immediately, but it really helped me internalize the concept. It's called the spinner box. So what it is a pigeon. There's like an experiment where if they put food in a spinner box, like a little wheel, like the things for like bingo when they just turn it around and a ball comes out. It was like that, but it was pigeon feed for a pigeon. And like every time the pigeon would hit the spinner box to make it spin, a treat would fall. Now, what they did in the experiment is they made the likelihoods of it falling less and less and less. And they noticed that even though the percentage would be really low, like I don't know, 1% or something like that, the pigeon would still keep turning the box. And this was such an important experiment for me to learn about because, in a sense, that is what we do when we're scrolling on Instagram or TikTok. We're trying to find that one video that makes us laugh. And when you first get started on TikTok and things like that, a lot of things can make you laugh. As the algorithm gets better, things make you laugh and laugh and laugh. And it just keeps going and going and going. And you tend to do it even when you're not laughing, even when you don't need to laugh, and you just keep going and you keep scrolling. So this concept actually helped me realize what exactly I was getting out of social media. And the way to stop doing that is to stop scrolling, is to stop hitting the spinner box, right? That's how you end the cycle. And the way you stop hitting the spinner box is to make it less likely for you to find that treat. And what I mean by that is the algorithm works based on what you like, what you watch for like a long time on like Instagram Reel or a TikTok, and you watch it for a long time. It knows that you're watching it for a long time. It will suggest more posts like that. If you save posts, if you send them, they track literally everything. So what I need you to do is I need you to stop sharing, stop liking, stop saving, press on not interested. There's this cool feature on TikTok where it's like customize your feed and you can write, for example, less memes, less whatever, but less of the thing you love, and you'll stop seeing it on your For You page and your home page and your explore page. And what you can also do is you can block or restrict or mute the accounts that you're really addicted to. Like, I remember there were a lot of meme accounts that I thought were so funny. Every time they would post something, it was really funny. So I ended up blocking them because I didn't want that distraction in my life and I wanted to get out of the spinning. I wanted to stop spinning. And the way I stopped spinning is to make it less appealing to me to spin. And you just have to block them, really. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad about blocking them because they don't care. And their internet fame matters less than your mental health. So it'll take you maybe about 2 weeks or more if you're constantly doing this every time you're on social media for the For You page and algorithms to begin to show you things that you don't like. And stop interacting, never interact. If people send you links, don't press on them. If it's really funny, don't press on them because it'll record that. So then the next step after you've done that and after your For You page and feed has been significantly decreased and has stopped grabbing your attention, I want you to determine what app you use the most, what apps you use the most, and why exactly are you using them? What is the need that they are fulfilling? and that keeps you going to them. So here's a couple of answers that some people use. I want you to pause the video right now and think about your own answers because I don't want my examples to suggest an answer for you. I want you to think of it on your own. So pause it, think about it on your own, and if you haven't gotten anything at all, come back and pause and get these answers, I guess. Think of if they're helpful. So usually the answer is entertainment, connection, or both. That's usually why people are on TikTok, to be entertained and to laugh. So I want you to isolate one exact reason if you can from these two. I want you to isolate on one specifically because it will help you mitigate it. Mitigate it. For me personally, I found Instagram very addicting. And what I found incredibly addicting to me at the time was the explore page. Because I just liked scrolling and finding memes, finding facts, finding artistic posts and things like that. But the thing about the spinner box is, again, the more you spin, you're not gonna find more treats. You might find less, and it actually gets worse and worse as you go on, and you lose a lot of time when you're doing that and you're finding the treat. So the way I mitigated this specific thing, this specific feature that I found really interesting in Instagram and addicting, was that I shifted to Pinterest instead. Pinterest is media only, and there's an option in Pinterest to stop videos from autoplaying. And for me, I've noticed that I spend way less time on Pinterest than I do on Instagram because I think the reason why is because there's not a lot of socials. Because at the time, what really drove me to the explore page in the first place was because when I was waiting for people to reply to my texts, I would end up scrolling in the meanwhile. And the more you find apps that are specialized and that are not a combination of one thing or another, like how Instagram is a combination of posts and talking to people, the more specialized the app is, the less likely you are to be addicted to using it. And the more you can manage it because you're going to the app with a certain intention and there is nothing to distract you. So, for example, if you're going on Instagram right now to go and text someone, like your friend, and you open it, what do you see immediately? You see the stories of other people, including maybe your friend, and a bunch of posts on your feed. So, what happens with your brain is you have a mission, you have a goal in mind, but then you're faced with distractions and enticing enticements. And you're being you're being faced with these distractions and they're throwing you off your goal. And what happens is because we're so used to like social media and addicted to it, we don't have the discernment to pause and keep a clear head and go on with the motive we have, which is to text the person. So what happens is, for example, you're trying to text that person, and what you do instead is you see this funny post and you like it. You might comment it. You might send it to another friend. And then you just get distracted and it balloons to other things. And before you know it, you haven't texted that person, or you have, and you're waiting for a reply and you're back on scrolling. So, the more specialized the app is, the more intent you can be. So now when I go on Pinterest, I know what I'm going there for. I'm not going for communication, for socializing. I'm going there to look at images that I like, artistic images, affirmations, recipes, mental health things. That's what I'm going there for. And because the social aspect of Pinterest is basically non existent, you don't get the negative side effects of being connected to literally everyone's brain at the exact moment. Again, not going to talk about the negatives of social media. Those are very well documented. However, if you do want my take on it, do leave a comment. I can make a video on that. But for now, it's just a guide. So I also want to say that because of the nature of Pinterest, um there are less posts that are brain rotted because Pinterest is such an intentional website, and so are other websites, that it has less space for brain rot because people don't really post brain rot to Pinterest. What you're posting to Pinterest is like recipes and other things like that. And I wanted to suggest some alternatives depending on the answers that you've given and that I've personally used and liked. So, if your answer was that you were using social media for entertainment, I recommend YouTube as an alternative. It's a complete alternative for this. Specifically long form YouTube videos, not shorts, whatever they're called. They're literally shorting your brain circuits. It's just a silly joke I used to use. So when I mean long form, I don't mean sit there for like hours, like watch a 2 hour video essay, which is also CGDX's video essay is 2 hours. But what I mean is you can watch any length of videos on YouTube as long as they're above like 5 minutes. Okay, I just want you to have a 5 minute and up limit. Okay, you can watch 2 hour video, you can watch 20 minutes, whatever. Ideally, you would not watch these hour-long video essays unless there's something very important. That's for a different video about content discernment. So, if your answer was communication, you were using social media mainly for communication and connecting. Um, if you're specifically communicating with in real life person, friends that you've already, or even online friends that you've had serious deep connections with. I do address another way to do this later on, but if you just wanted communication in general with lots of humans, like a comment section or like a fandom, yeah, a fandom where you guys post about the characters you like, there are different ways to engage in this intentionally. One of them is Discord and Telegram. So I prefer, I think Discord to me is not a social media because you're specifically going to Discord for socializing. You're not going to Discord to scroll. There's nothing blaring at your face that goes against the mission, the intent you're going on it for. So if I'm going on Discord, I'm going for a certain server, and because I want to say a certain thing or I want to check what my fandom or whatever hobby I'm in, what they're up to, what news are there, like for me, for example, I was in like English literature servers because I like literature, so I would just check on like what's going on, what are they doing, and we would talk about literature and things like that, and I found that very helpful for me personally. And yeah, I already mentioned Pinterest, but if you like art, recipes, and just general pretty things, including beauty, makeup, Pinterest is a wonderful alternative. And as a bonus, there's a lot of accessibility options on those apps in comparison to social media apps. Uh, One specific one that I always use is turning off moving videos and GIFs because it minimizes your dopamine addiction because there's less things moving. So you can actually like focus on your task and you can increase your attention span. And shock horror, the social media apps don't usually have this setting because they want you to be addicted. Like I haven't found this setting on Instagram or TikTok. So shock horror, they want you to use your phone for longer. So hopefully by now you've chosen a few apps, a few alternatives, maybe ones I haven't mentioned and you know of. And now that your social media apps, ones that you're phasing out and that you're leaving, are less enticing for you, now you can train the algorithm of your new apps. So, for example, YouTube, okay? So, I don't want you to use the same brain rot content that you were doing on Instagram and just taking it into video form, to long form video form. That is a good way to phase it out, but I want you to go harder, all right? So, what I suggest is keeping two or so YouTube channels for silly content. So, for me at the time, it was and it still is Markiplier and it was Urban Rescue Ranch. So you can have like a few channels that are simply entertainment that don't offer real value at the start. At the start and throughout your life, you can have like a few channels where you're just kind of watching silly stuff happening. As long as it's not too dopamine inducing, it's totally fine. However, there's a beautiful chance with these new apps that I want you to take. It's a beautiful opportunity. I want you to seize it. It's to train the algorithm for things that you want to consume and that you want to change about yourself instead of things that you already watched and you want to bring back. So, for example, when I switched back to when I started going on to YouTube instead of Instagram and things like that, I didn't bring the brain rot content with me. I wanted to try and consume more self help, more philosophy, more value content like interviews and with with people, not even celebrities necessarily, but interviews with normal people and trying to discover more of life. So it was an opportunity for me to increase the content that I wanted to consume, that I wanted to like use to better myself. And it's a wonderful opportunity to do that. So keep a few silly content channels, but do increase the channels that you want to see more of. Maybe you were really interested in programming back when you were doing social media, but you didn't really consume enough like programming content, or you watched like programming memes and things like that instead of programming videos or like what are they called, dev vlogs and things like that. But now that you're on YouTube, there's a chance for you to really consume that content and to further your knowledge on this hobby or career. And I would also say that I want you to watch this content because usually you're watching it on your laptop or an iPad or something like that. I want you to use your phone not more than 3 times while you're watching it. Like, I want you to fully concentrate on the video. Okay? I'll keep an exception if you're like doing laundry and things like that. But still, ideally, I want you to focus on the videos and to increase your attention span as much as you can because this will help curb the negative side effects you've gained from social media. As a side note, I would like to apologize for my declining performance in giving this video. I haven't slept and I'm stumbling over my points and words. However, I feel like I'm getting my points across nonetheless. I'm working hard. So, when you have your alternatives prepped and ready, and hopefully by this time the social media apps have their algorithm has stopped suggesting content that you're really interested in, and your alternatives are ready, and you've already been on your alternatives, you've been using more of them and less of your social media apps because you've trained the algorithms to make it more interesting for your brain. Hopefully, by this time, you're ready. So, what I want you to do, and this is what I did, is I went on my story and I put a few stories. I said, if you guys want to text me, if you guys want anything, if you guys want to hang out, text me, call me, email me. If you want to not have them text you on your phone number, you can like put your Discord tag, things like that, and just to introduce this concept that don't say that you're quitting, by the way. I don't want you to say that you're quitting because it's a public promise, and if you do fumble once, people will stop taking you seriously, and some toxic people will even make jokes about it instead of appreciating that you're trying your best. This is why social media detoxes actually never work, and I used to do them before I quit. It's because you detox for a while, you come back, you detox for a while, you come back. People kind of get used to that and they don't take you seriously when you're finally ready to quit. So don't say that you're quitting. Just say, hey guys, if you need anything, text me, call me, etc. And I even did it on my bio. You know the nickname feature on TikTok and Instagram. I put inactive in that, and I removed all the posts I had, all the highlights, everything. Just blanked out of existence. So this also has a beautiful added bonus of showing you who your real friends are, because you follow and are followed by a lot of people, like more than 100 perhaps. And when you post this and you stop going online and you delete the apps, you discover that not a lot of them actually care enough to text you or call you personally. They text you, they show you memes, things like that when you're online, when you're in social media, but they're not actually going out of their way to be there for you, to be around you, to hang around with you, not even be there for you personally, but even just hang out with you. And for me personally, I used to have, I think, 200 followers or something like that on my personal account, and I swear to you, perhaps one or two friends were the only ones that texted me and called me outside of social media when I put that notice up and logged out and deleted my apps. So, yeah, it's gonna be a slightly lonely journey. Not fully lonely because, you still have your Discord, you have your friends ideally texting you, you have your IRL friends, you're organizing meetups, you're hanging out, so it won't be that lonely. However, the first few months after you do this, it is going to hit a little bit hard, especially because you're going to see a lot of time, newfound time that you thought you didn't have before, suddenly show up with social media gone. And yeah, it's gonna suck for a little bit, but you're gonna be fine after it, trust me, and you're gonna be much happier. In fact, I only found my purpose, which, as a side note, the notion of purpose I find is really odd. I don't really believe in it. I've made a video on that actually. It's on my YouTube, like the homepage thing, like the welcome page. It's called Life's Purpose, and in that I describe that your life isn't exactly just one purpose. Like there's a top purpose, there's a second one, there's a third one, but what I mean is I have found like what really speaks to my soul, what I'm very good at, what speaks to my soul, and I feel so blessed to have found it, because there are people twice my age who have only found it then, or there are people who die without finding it. And trust me, the moment you drop out of social media, you will have time to explore what that thing is for you. And when you discover that, and when you deal with that and you do that, you will find such an inner peace and such real dopamine, real happiness, real serotonin that you have never experienced from something as easy as a social media post. Nothing compares to that high ascending feeling. There's a notion, some hedonists, a branch of hedonists, I forgot what they were called, I think Epicureans maybe, where they argued that hedonism, the one where you're just going around and consuming whatever you want, dancing, drinking whatever you want, and things like that, that form of hedonism is not true hedonism. It is like false hedonism, because it is not actually the highest pleasure in life. So when I mean hedonism, it's the idea that you're following your pleasures in life and you're living for pleasure. But this branch of hedonism disagrees with their idea of pleasure, which is simply drinking and wine and whatever kind of hedonistic activity they're going on with. So, what they argue is real hedonism, real pleasure comes in chasing things that make you absolutely happy, like things that you have to work for. Like, I think that there's this thing called the runner's high, where after you've practiced for so long, muscular way, like you trained for so long and you worked for so long, and you begin to do the athletic performance, whatever it is, if it's running or weightlifting or whatever it is, there's this kind of ecstasy that you're feeling, this kind of high sense of pleasure where you just feel super connected with your body and that you're deep inside your body. And that branch of hedonism that I'm talking about, we classify that as the real pleasure and the real pleasure that you must seek. And the real highest pleasure is something that is only attainable after working for it for a lot of time because it gives you the biggest payoff. And I can personally relate to that, but I'm yapping too much. We're on a tangent. Okay, so you've told everyone that they should text you or call you if they wanted anything. Now, delete your apps. Delete them. Delete them. Delete them completely. Delete TikTok, Instagram, Twitter/X. Gone. Gone forever. I will say that sometimes I do need things from these apps like Instagram. There are a lot of restaurants and cafes that have their menus and posts and things like that on Instagram. For that, I just use it logged out on a browser. That's a good alternative. If you need to see anything on Twitter, that's also a good alternative. But ideally, it's gone. If you don't need anything important from Twitter, don't even go on it on the browser. It's gone forever. And yay, you've deleted them. Okay, what now? Okay, now you have friends offline or on specialized apps like WhatsApp and Discord. Yay! Okay, so I wanted to tell you as a side note, not as a side note, but it's actually really helpful. I wanted to tell you what I've discovered about the communication methods that people use via technology and which ones I personally prefer and why, because they could help you analyze like what preferred method you would like to go with your friends, okay? So for me, I really prefer FaceTime, emails, and calls. Why? Because, and this is specifically for my brain, it could also happen for your brain. What I struggled with most, as I mentioned before, on Instagram, for instance, was the fact that when people were texting me and I was waiting for a text back, I would end up scrolling and things like that to occupy my mind because in my mind, I'm having a conversation with a person, real time conversation, but it's somehow like stopping intermittently because they're going to the bathroom or something came up and I can't see that visually because we're texting. And this to me was very intrusive and I didn't realize it was intrusive until I got off social media and really began to ponder and think about this kind of stuff. And I realized that for me personally, I prefer to have normal conversations. I prefer to have face to face conversations, ideally, because then I wouldn't feel like we're ending the conversation because either of us were busy and it just ended like without any warning. Because that would just leave me confused because I haven't had a clear end, which is where emails come in. Because I personally prefer letters because the beautiful thing about letters is they have a beginning and an end. It's beautiful. Like you don't have to sit there in the middle of the letter. Like texting is literally you talking to a person, beginning, middle, oh, end. And it's not even like a fulfilling end to the conversation in terms of like progression and story and linear what linear is that even a word linear I was gonna say linear laddie like chronology. The chronology of the of the conversation is not clicking for me because why did you end in the middle? Doesn't make sense to me. It makes my brain feel really bad and it makes me just really confused. That's why I ended up scrolling a lot. I'm losing my point here because I've lost my mind. So yeah, I those are my preferred communication methods and that's how I prefer texting people nowadays and I exclusively communicate with people through this. Not exclusively, because again, I'm back on social media to promote stuff. Um, yeah. Okay. So you found yourself with free time now because you're off social media apps completely and you have specialized apps. And what are you doing? What are you going to do right now with all this newfound time? Try new hobbies. Play games with your Discord buddies. Play video games. Have fun. Have fun. Discover life. Honestly, discover life. Ponder. Learn new things. Explore nature. I have found myself being way more present in nature now off social media than I ever was. There were things that I've never noticed before in my entire life that I have noticed after I got off social media. I genuinely feel like I was reborn at the age of 17, and I've been discovering that life like ever since. Like, do you know the names of the birds in your local area? Do you? Do you know the birds that are chirping constantly? Do you know what they're called? Do you know what their species is? Do you know how they mate? Do you know how they migrate? Do you? I do. This is my naturalism agenda. I'm the Unabomber here. It's such a stupid joke. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't. I think it's really salacious and scandalous and reprehensible to make jokes about um, dangerous people like that. So okay, you're using your alternatives, right? And you're talking to your friends and everything. I want you to delete your alternatives. What? Yeah, yeah. I want you to offline max. I want you, I want you to delete them. Delete them. So I want you to delete the YouTube app. Now, by the way, if we're talking about a timeline, this is like 6 months, 7 months into like no social media. Like I want you there for like a long time until you're fully phased out of this constant craving. Because there's still gonna be craving if you still have it on your phone. But when you're like fully ready, you really want to like ultra max. Like this is like optional low key. There are some people that are fine, but this is optional. This is like if you really want to like ultra max right now. Listen, delete YouTube. Delete YouTube. Delete. You don't have to delete Discord. I didn't delete it, but you could delete it. Delete it. Delete it. Because your alternatives are fulfilling a need that the social media apps did at a better rate. But what is a better fulfilling object than life itself? You know? If you want entertainment, go outside. Go see a comedy show in real life. Have a conversation with your friends in real life or on FaceTime. I want you to like double Ultramax, okay? I want you to single out, do the exact same thing we did for social media apps, but for your alternatives. I want you to like double Ultramax. Eventually, you'll stop Ultramaxing because, for example, like self-help podcasts, things like that. You're basically like stuck on YouTube for that, and like self-help books and things like that. Like at that point, just use YouTube. You know what I mean? But I want you to try and minimize that as much as you can. For example, when I stopped using Discord as often because I realized that I just didn't like texting that often with people I haven't met in real life, and I wanted to talk to people more like face to face. And I just didn't like how often I checked Discord, so I decided to Ultramax. And I isolated why I was checking Discord so often, which is gonna sound crazy to you. It's because I really liked having a profile picture. I really liked the colors of the profile pictures. So, what I did is I added a widget, a photo album widget to my phone, and I just changed it out with pretty pictures. It's like the Pinterest widget, but with a single image. So I did that, and I'm telling you, it's crazy. I literally stopped checking Discord completely. It's actually insane. The hours on my phone right now are around like 5 hours on a bad day, and on a usual, when it was like really good, when I was completely off social media and I didn't need it because I wasn't a content creator, I was literally doing like 2 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours. It was bliss, literal bliss, like the highest form of earthly heaven is having no social media. Guys, I'm telling you, get on. Get on. It's beautiful. Okay, I hope this helped. If okay, I'm ending it. I should say that I'm ending it right now because I'm completely zonked out of my mind right now. I haven't slept for like 12 hours, I think. 28 hours? I don't know. So I haven't slept for a long time and my brain's like completely zonking out. You can tell because I'm making silly jokes and things like that. And that's why I'm ending it. And I also want to say that if you're still struggling with that addiction, or because you went offline, you are confronting things that you were avoiding, because a lot of using social media is avoiding facing the things that bother you about your life or about yourself, and just feeding yourself entertainment. So ignore that. And if that gets too much, if you facing that gets too hard and you can't do it alone, don't be ashamed. It's perfectly okay, because we are social animals and we are meant to help each other. And I'm personally seeing a therapist. I have the thing on pause right now because I have finals. But I am seeing a therapist, and I'm trying to take therapy seriously because I realized what I hadn't realized for a long time because of social media is I have there are certain events from my childhood that really bother me, and there are lots of like little traumas that I've come across in my life that have really complicated the way I deal with humans and my relationships, and I just wasn't awake to that when I was on social media because I was constantly numbing myself. And unfortunately, when you've numbed yourself for that long, experiencing the emotion feels very overwhelming. And trying to fix that problem on your own, even with the self-help videos, the shadow work, the mental health, it can get scary and difficult. And personally, I'm using BetterHelp right now, trying it out. Had it for 2 weeks, and I'm leaving a link down below. They went through a scandal like some time ago, but from what I've seen, they fixed themselves. And personally, I know that my therapist is licensed, and they have a lot of licensed therapists. Like, it's not, that was the deal, but that was kind of the scandal. But no, nowadays, BetterHelp has really changed, and personally, I think it's much more, it gives you more benefits than traditional office therapy, and it's around the same price point. And I say it gives you additional help because your therapist actually messages you throughout the week. So instead of having one session per week that's at the same price, you're actually getting messages between them. By the way, this is not sponsored by BetterHelp. It is. Look at me. Look at my subscribers. Look at the view count. Do I look like I'm being sponsored by BetterHelp? But I like, it's just, I think it's actually kind of helpful as somebody that doesn't have a strong support system to take on, to try it out with a therapist. I haven't gone to therapy continuously. I've gone to like a few sessions and things like that, like maybe two at most. So I haven't tried it for a long time, and I'm really interested in trying it out. And if that's something you're interested in, I left a link below. No, I do get credits, like wallet credits for you signing up. I think it would be kind of slimy for me to not mention that. Even if I wrote it in the description, like I think it's way better to just mention it up front. I will also leave a link to the video essay I mentioned about social media and CJX's video, which is 2 hours and 30 minutes long, which is crazy. And I will also leave a link down below to my social medias, which sometimes I upload like shorter clips of this video. Like this video, I would clip it down, and sometimes I film specific clips that are too short to be full length videos that I just upload to my social media. It is mostly about literature, my social media, because shock horror, I am an author. Gasp, gasp, not cap. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just telling you what my social media is about. If you're not interested in literature, you might not be that interested in my social media, but I would still appreciate a follow. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. This is unnatural. Like, it's not normal for me to just go up like that in the middle of conversation, but this is unfortunately the results of social media. Unfortunately, I haven't yet now found the perfect balance between content creation and being off social media because I don't like social media. I have it in my YouTube banner. So that's why I didn't bring up how to deal with it if you're a content creator because I haven't figured it out myself. So if you guys have advice for that, let me know. Actually, you might have some groundbreaking advice. I don't know because I've noticed that my community of people are very helpful. Like if they ever disagree with a point I brought up, they disagree very politely, and they are usually very talented, helpful people. I have talked to subscribers of mine and in comments and things like that, and I found them very intelligent, very helpful. Um they would hold me accountable if I was being weird. And like that, I feel like we're progressing together as a community. This is just some TLC, some because I haven't filmed in such a long time. Like I just missed you guys. Guys, I missed you, so that's why I was yapping. And in the link of my socials, I have also left a link for my book. It's a poetry collection. It's called 17 and Breeze. I wrote it when I was 17. It's just about toxic relationships and breakups and dealing with that and the emotional turmoil that you experience after that. And yeah, it feels really gross to talk about this kind of stuff to me. So it's just an experiment, I guess, in trying to talk about my stuff. Because, like, there's so many YouTubers that, like, talk about their projects and they do it with full confidence and coolness. And I'm just like, it feels a little weird to talk about the book I wrote and telling you guys to, like, check it out. It feels a little odd. But it's fine. It's really fine. I mean, you guys can just ignore it. It really doesn't matter. So, what else was gonna say? Was I gonna say what? I hope you have a good day. Yeah. I hope you eat really good eggs, sunny side up eggs. And I hope the day after that you eat waffles. And if you're on a diet, I hope they're high protein, no sugar waffles. And I hope you're using honey instead of syrup. Bye.